are huge issues out there that the American people feel very strongly about, but unfortunately the political leadership does not talk about too much, and certainly the corporate media doesn't talk about enough.
Is that where a progressive running for president could step in and raise those issues?
And by the way, the answer is yes, but I think many of the issues that I am talking about will appeal to people who do not consider themselves progressives. For example, you'd be surprised to hear this. A poll came out, I think it was last year, when they asked people who support the Tea Party. And they said to these people, many working class people, do you think we should cut Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid? You know what they said? Absolutely not, in very strong numbers. So everything that I'm telling you, or almost everything, is an issue where I think a pretty good majority of the American people feel strongly about it. Main point that I'd make, Lynn, is that there is a crisis facing this country. Mm-hmm. The American people know that there is something profoundly wrong, that we are fighting to make sure that the middle class of this country survives, and that I do not see that sense of urgency in Congress and among many of our political leaders.
So a progressive presence on the national presidential campaign trail in 2016, whether it's you or someone else, that's your goal, is to raise these issues you just articulated, or have them raised.
So demand not only to raise them, but to rally people around. Look, this is what I'm trying to do right now as a senator from Vermont. I have the President of the United States saying we should go forward with a changed CPI, which would cut Social Security and benefits for disabled veterans. I have every Republican saying that. I have a number of Democrats saying that. I have the Koch brothers saying that with their huge influence. I have Pete Peterson, who's a Wall Street billionaire, spending hundreds of millions of dollars trying to accomplish that goal. That's what's going on right now. Mm-hmm. What we have just submitted to Congress are the names of 700,000 Americans in 50 states in this country who say, do not cut Social Security, do not cut Medicare, do not cut Medicaid. So this is an example. It's not just me giving a speech, which I do a lot of on that. It is rallying the American people. So you give this petition to Congressman Paul Ryan, and you say, Paul, you know what? In your state of Wisconsin and all over this country, that's not what the people want. Now, Ryan and the others can get away with that if people are not involved. So it's not just a question, it's not an academic question of walking into a room and saying, gee, I think we should discuss this issue. It's a question of reflecting what the American people want. Every poll that I have seen says overwhelmingly the American people do not want to cut Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. They want the wealthy and large corporations to pay more in taxes. In Washington, what people are saying, let's cut Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. Let's give the rich and large corporations more tax breaks. They're completely different sets of reality. American people want something. Congress and the big money interests want something else. So I want to rally the American people to stand up and fight for their needs, for the needs of middle-class people, rather than just allowing the wealthy to continue to have so much influence.
So you're reflecting a real sense of urgency, then.
Which the American people feel, which Congress does not. I mean, in fact, right now, and I don't want to spread the blame evenly. The Republican Party basically is obstructing, wants nothing to happen. They want to continue to allow the multinationals and the wealthy to run our society. The Democrats, in my view, are trying to do some good things like raising the minimum wage, but have not been strong enough.
Does this urgency inform a decision, albeit down the road, whether or not you would be running?
We need this country, look, under normal times, it's fine. You can have a moderate Democrat running, have a moderate Republican, conservative Republican, fine. People have differences of opinion. These are not normal times. The United States right now is in the middle of a severe crisis. And we have to call it what it is. It is a crisis. When you have 20% of the young people in this country who have no jobs, that's a crisis. When the gap between the very, very rich and everybody else is growing wider, that is a crisis. When you have a horrendous Supreme Court decision called Citizens United, which allows billionaires to pump hundreds of millions of dollars into the political process, that is a crisis undermining democracy. We're proud of Vermont. We go to town meetings, small towns, people sit around, they argue about the school budget, they argue about the road budget. That's not what's taking place in Washington. Billionaires are now dominating the political process. So I think you have a nation now in the midst of a real crisis. We need a sense of urgency, and I don't see that in the establishment politicians, and I don't see it in the establishment media.